Wouldn't you rather, like if it's gonna take you the same time and effort to create either one of those, wouldn't you rather create something that you can sell for a couple hundred, if not thousands of dollars versus, $10, maybe $20? Hello, my loves. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Amy from Rebel Nutrition. If you're new around here, welcome. Today we are talking about probably my favorite topic of all time, which is passive income. A couple years ago, I was like, I want to travel the world. I want to make my own schedule. I basically want to wake up in the morning and do whatever the I want. And so I knew that I had to figure out a way to not only build a business online, but to make passive income so that I could be making sales every single day, even while I was on vacation, while I was at the spa, while I was taking a nap, everything like that. So today I'm going to be breaking down a couple of the different online business models and ways to make passive income, and also pros and cons to each one. So we're gonna be going through ebooks, membership sites, group coaching, and online courses, and talk about some of the pros and cons of each of those things so that you can figure out which one is best for you. So let's start with ebooks, because I feel like there's an allure to ebooks being like the lowest barrier to entry. If you're just getting started, it seems like, oh, that would be pretty simple to create and sell an ebook versus like try and get clients for group coaching or create a whole online course, right? So, I mean, that is a benefit. They are relatively simple to create. You can go to Canva and find like an ebook template and write out an ebook. But I would say if you are even going to be selling your ebook for $10, it needs to be relatively full of information, right? It needs to be a good resource if you're going to be selling anything. And the amount of time that it would take you to even create an ebook, the research that goes into it, the formatting, the making it beautiful, not to mention the selling of it or marketing of it, downloading it, taking people's payments, all of that honestly is going to be a similar workload to something like an online course. But the downside of an ebook is that, I mean, think about the ebooks that maybe you've purchased in the past. The most that you can really sell an ebook for is probably $10 to $20 at the most. So while it does kind of seem like a lower barrier to entry, my thought is, why would you not spend that time and effort on something that you can sell for hundreds of dollars versus 10. Now, because ebooks are generally a lower price point, I think the thinking is that a lot of people are like, oh, it's an easy yes. It's an easy yes to say, oh, I'll buy this ebook for $9 or whatever, rather than a couple $100 online course, which is true to some extent, but in my experience, it takes about the same amount of nurturing and marketing to sell a $9 ebook as it does to sell a course or a membership for a couple $100. So again, if you're going to put in the time and effort to create the ebook in the first place, and you're going to put in the ongoing time and effort and marketing expense of selling the ebook, but it's only $9, wouldn't you rather get a much larger return on your investment from something that is a couple $100? I don't know, you tell me. So this is not to hate on ebooks, and I'm not trying to persuade anybody not to do that, but I would say, in my opinion and in my experience, an ebook can be great if you're using it as kind of like a free resource that attracts your audience and kind of gives them a piece of free information and makes them fall in love with you and what you teach and your teaching style before you sell them on something higher end. Okay, now let's talk about group coaching. And this also kind of, I would say, one-on-one coaching maybe ties into this a little bit. I think one of the biggest questions that I get from people is like, oh, so-and-so told me that I need to do live group coaching or I need to do one-on-one coaching first before I can make a passive online course. Is that true? And I'm like, do you want to see one-on-one clients? Do you want to do live group coaching? You are the entrepreneur, and I think most people know deep down if something sounds fun and exciting to them or if something sounds like it's gonna kill their soul. For me, from the beginning, I knew that I did not want to do anything live. I did not want to have, a time slot in my day where I had to show up and be on and trade time for dollars in that way. So I knew from the beginning that I wanted to create a passive online course, and that really worked out well for me. So just know that you can do whatever works for you in your business, and you can be successful that way. You don't have to follow anybody else's timeline. Now, there are a lot of benefits to live group coaching though, if that's something that you want to do. So number one, with anything live, meaning, you start enrollment on January 1st and close it on January 7th, and then maybe you have a 6-week group coaching program where everybody's going through the information all at the same time. With anything timely and live like that, it's really great because it gives people a deadline for when they need to sign up by. And if people don't have any sort of deadline or timeline or reason to enroll now and sign up for your program right now, they will often just kind of drag their feet and keep waiting because they feel like it's always available. So I love that aspect of live group coaching. It's also an element that you could use in any sort of live launch, which is something that I teach in my online course academy. But live group coaching is a great way to get a lot of people in at once. And it's a great way too, if you're starting out, it's a really good way to have that kind of like human interaction with people in your audience, especially if you're first starting out and you maybe aren't 100% sure, like, what is the thing that my audience really is struggling with? And you're able to have those kind of like conversations that you wouldn't necessarily be able to have if you started right away with a passive course. I also think live group coaching is a really, really good option for people who are wanting to be business owners, but not necessarily really self-motivated. So if you're the type of person that needs accountability from other people, or you need deadlines in order to get things done, think about it this way. If you sell a group coaching program and you have 20 people enroll and pay you their money, you have no other option but to show up and deliver that content for them, right? Whereas if you start with a passive online course and you're somebody who needs outer accountability, there's not really anybody giving you a deadline about when you need to have that done by except for you. So if you're somebody who needs that outer accountability, live group coaching can be a really good option in that way. Also, if you're somebody who just really thrives in a live environment, maybe like you don't have a lot of energy until you're like on live with people and that gives you a lot of energy. We're all so different. Like for me, I find that really draining. I'm very introverted, but I know a lot of other people like thrive in that group environment and actually have their best work and their best ideas come through that way. But some of the downsides of group coaching, like I said, is that you're still trading time for dollars, basically. The people signing up for your program are paying you, but then you have to show up and actually deliver that content to them. So you are really trading your time. And every time you do another group program, again, you're trading your time for dollars. So I don't love that about group coaching because I don't think it's passive and it's not very scalable in that way. So yes, you could always have more people joining, and that way it's scalable, but you are still having to trade your time. So in my opinion, it's not the ideal situation if you are really trying to build a profitable, scalable, and passive business. And the last thing I will say about live group coaching as well is not only is the actual content itself not passive, like I said, you're actually having to show up to deliver whatever you're teaching, but the sales part is not passive either because it's a live launch. So there are two kinds of launching strategies that I talk about, live launching and passive or evergreen launching. And if you're doing live group coaching, there's not really a way to make that super passive. So again, you're kind of doing a lot more extra work than you need to be. Okay, memberships. Let's talk about memberships. So the thing I love about memberships is that it's ongoing recurring revenue. So unlike something like an online course where somebody purchases it one time, memberships, if you're able to keep people engaged, it's going to be recurring revenue every single month for potentially years and years to come. So memberships, if you, again, assuming that you're able to keep people retained in your membership, it's a really, really great way to make recurring revenue and make your business really, really scalable because, again, you're keeping people retained and you're constantly bringing in new people, and those numbers can really skyrocket really quickly. Now, something obvious about memberships, and like I said, keeping people retained, is part of that means continuously creating new content. So whether that's you showing up in your your membership and hosting live calls, or creating new content that you're posting in the membership, or even recruiting outside experts to come speak in your membership, there's going to be some element of continuous content creation that you're going to have to be involved in if you are doing a membership, which makes it a lot less passive than, let's say, a one-time online course. So there are pros and cons to that, you know? Like, you are having to do more ongoing work, but you're also making recurring revenue. Another factor about memberships, I don't necessarily think it's a pro or a con, it's kind of just whatever works better for you, but generally monthly memberships are a lower price point per month. So, you know, if you want to make $2,000 one time with an online course, that's totally reasonable. It's pretty unreasonable to have a membership that's $2,000 a month. I mean, depending on what you're teaching, but most likely a membership is going to be around a couple $100s a month. But like I said, you know, if somebody is going to be in your membership for 3 years, that can really snowball and really add up over time. And it feels a lot more doable to the member to only pay a lower amount per month versus everything at once. So it's kind of, you know, there's pros and cons to that. And another factor just to keep in mind about memberships, not a good thing or a bad thing necessarily, but you can kind of do two types of marketing strategies with memberships. You can either have an open close launch like I mentioned before, or like a live launch where you're saying, you know, doors to enrollment open January 1st and they close on January 7th. That's gonna be a lot more like active promotion and work on your end to get everybody in during that time span. And usually those launches work really well to get a lot of people at once. Or the great thing about memberships is that you totally could do a completely passive evergreen launch strategy and have people enrolling in your membership every single day, every single month, no matter if you're working or not. And I teach both of these different launching strategies, again, inside OCA, but I think it's great to know that with memberships, you kind of have the option of doing one or the other. Whereas with group coaching, like I mentioned before, you're really kind of stuck in just the live launching strategy. I also lean towards memberships a little bit more than group coaching, because even though you are having to actively create more content for your members, it can be done in a little bit more of a way that works for your schedule. You know, it's not like group coaching where, you know, if you have group coaching calls every night at 7 p.m., you actually have to show up at 7 p.m. to host those and trade your time for dollars. Whereas with a membership, maybe you're uploading new content in there every month, but you can kind of do it at your leisure, on your own schedule, whenever works for you, which I'm a big fan of. And I also think memberships kind of give you, kind of similar to group coaching, but they kind of give you more of like a personal interaction with your audience. So maybe you're seeing every single day the members interact with each other, posting questions, figuring out what they need help with. And it's kind of a good way to just figure out exactly what the pain points of your audience are and how you can really be of the most service to them, which I love. Now, last but not least, let's talk about my favorite business model, which is online courses. Now, again, this is my personal opinion as somebody who wanted to build a business that was as passive and scalable and profitable, reaching as many people as possible. Like, that was really my goal. And I think if that resonates with you and you're the type of person who wants to be helping people and making sales and living on your own schedule and traveling and still making sales at the same time, then probably online courses are the right business model for you as well. The benefits of an online course are, number one, it's going to take you about the same time and effort to create an online course as it would to create an ebook. I give a very streamlined process on how to do this in my program, but wouldn't you rather, like, if it's gonna take you the same time and effort to create either one of those, wouldn't you rather create something that you can sell for a couple hundred, if not thousands of dollars versus, you know, 10, maybe $20? So I think in that way, online courses are just so much more valuable because of the format of video, audio, worksheets, all of that good stuff. Also, I find that people who enroll in online courses have a lot better results in whatever they're trying to learn than with an ebook. And I think that's for a few reasons. I think number one, again, it's a lot more interactive. You're getting video trainings, audio, worksheets. It's like going to an actual online class and learning how to do something versus just reading a book on something. Most most people are gonna have better benefits with an actual course, right? Number two is that when you spend a significant amount of money on something, it's just human nature, psychology, I don't know what it is, but you're going to be a lot more invested in staying accountable to that thing, completing the course, taking action on the course, and actually getting a benefit from it. How many times have you purchased a book on Amazon that was $9 and then you're like, I don't need to finish it because I'm bored of it or whatever. If you've spent $1,000 on something, most likely you're going to commit to it, finish it, and take action on it. The second benefit to an online course is that it can be completely passive for you as the course creator once it's done. So if you're like me and you really want it to be a completely self-paced course that people go through, you can totally do that. And I think the best, most effective way to do that is just to be really clear in your marketing. On your sales page, say, this is a self-paced course. I'm not going to be offering one-on-ones inside the course. This is not a hand-holding type of course, anything like that. And of course that may turn off certain people, but it's also going to attract the right people. I do that in my business and honestly, it works great. I really attract self-motivated, self-starters, and I have some of the most successful students because of that, which I think is really great. So courses can really be a one and done type of thing if you want them to be. So let's say you commit the next 1 to 3 months to creating your course. Once it's finished, it can be completely passive for the next 3, 4, 5 years. And depending on the topic, if it's a topic that doesn't really change very often, you really don't need to make updates to it. Now, obviously, if you're creating a course on something like Facebook ads, let's say, that changes all the time. So you need to take that into account. That's gonna be something you're having to update pretty frequently. But if it's a topic that really stays the same over the course of time, it's gonna be a really, really passive business model for you, especially if you promote it as a self-paced course. Another thing I love about online courses is, so not only is the content itself completely passive, but your marketing strategy or the way that you sell your passive course can be passive as well. So if you don't want to be showing up every single day and selling your course, essentially, you don't have to. There's a way to do it in a passive way that's called evergreen, which basically means that you're having students enroll in your course in a passive way every single day of the year. That's what I do now. And I love it because even though I've had experience with live launching, which I talked about earlier in this video, I really find live launching to be exhausting. It's a lot of planning, it's a lot of work involved. And my thought is, why spend the time and effort to do that multiple times per year when I find it really exhausting, when I could do that basically one time and create a passive strategy that's enrolling students all year long without any extra effort from me. I love to work smarter, not harder, so that is like definitely my vibe. And let me explain to you a little bit more about what that passive strategy looks like. So let me just walk you through an exact scenario of what this passive sales strategy could look like. This is what I do in my business, and this will just give you an example. So this YouTube video, okay? So this is an evergreen piece of content. An evergreen piece of content means that it's still going to be available for people to find on the internet for years and years to come. So that could be a YouTube video, it could be a blog post, it could be a podcast, things like that. Unlike, let's say, an Instagram story that's going to expire in 24 hours. So this evergreen piece of content, hopefully for the next 10 years, people are searching on YouTube and finding this video, okay? So that's kind of like my attraction method. And it's done in a completely passive way because I take the time to film this video, but then for years and years and years afterward, it's working passively for me. So that's part one. Then at the end of this evergreen piece of content, I am going to invite people to my free webinar. My free webinar is basically a free masterclass that is completely automated, that I recorded one time and provide a bunch of tips and tricks for my audience so they can get a bunch of free information. And then at the end of that automated webinar, I'm selling them on my paid program. So the great thing about that webinar is that in order for people to join, even though it's free, I am capturing their email addresses. So I have a way to kind of stay connected with them and follow up with them in the future, whether they buy from me right now or not. Maybe they're not ready right now, but obviously they're interested in what I'm talking about. So I have their email address, and then from there, at the end of that automated webinar, they have a chance to purchase my program. I give everybody who signs up for that webinar a deadline of when they need to enroll in my course by to get the best price. And it's a true deadline. So if they don't enroll by the end of that, then they miss out on that sale price. So even after they sign off of that automated webinar, if they don't buy, if they're not ready, I have their email address. So from there, they're going to be receiving automated emails that I wrote years ago that are following up with them, reminding them how to enroll in my program, and again, how to get the best price before their deadline runs out. So again, you guys, all of this is completely automated. Yes, it does take some time and effort to set it up in the first place, but once it's done, this funnel is what I call it. It's called a passive funnel. It's been running in the background for me for at least a year now, and I plan to have it continue to run until I decide to update it. But at this point, it's still working, it's still converting. I'm still making sales from it every single day, so it really doesn't make sense for me to update it yet. But this whole strategy could really apply to any sort of online course business, no matter what you're selling, no matter what your online course topic is. You want to be enrolling students any time of day, any time of year, right? So that's why I really love online courses, because they can be so passive. If you're considering an ebook or a membership or a group coaching program or an online course, I hope this video gave you a lot of insight to make the best decision for you, because obviously I'm kind of biased. I love online courses and those work best for me, but I really feel like everybody is unique and different, and what works for you might be completely different. So if you have any questions about anything that I covered today, please let me know in the comments. I'd be happy to make a follow-up video to this. And if you are interested in online courses and you want to learn more about how to choose a profitable course topic, how to get started creating your own online course, how to build an audience to sell your course to, and of course, how to make your course completely passive like I do, I actually have a free training, just like I talked about, linked in the description box below this video. It's going to walk you through my exact process of course creation, and of course at the end you're going to get a special promo into Online Course Academy. So I hope you guys come watch, come hang out with me there, and let me know if you have any questions. And thanks so much for watching. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.